Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for January 2nd, 2020, which is now called to order. Please silence your cell phones and other devices if you have not already. If you are not the applicant and you'd like to speak on a matter, we ask that you fill out one of the white cards that's available outside, and we ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes and not interrupt a board member if a board member is speaking. First item on the agenda is to receive the minutes from the prior meeting. Do we have any changes or a motion? A second? A motion and a second to approve the minutes from the December 5th, 2019 meeting. Cast your votes, please. And they're approved. Yeah. The next order of business is continuance request or application withdrawals. Do we have any?
I have two today. Item number 5, case 14698, applicant request to be continued to January 16th. And item 7, case 14645, the appellate and the protester have agreed to a continuance to February 6th.
Has anyone signed up to speak on those matters? We have a motion to approve the requests as requested.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to continue case number 5 and 7 as requested. Cast your votes, please. And they're approved. There are no matters on the consent docket, so we'll move to items requiring a separate vote. Can we call the first case, please?
Item 1, case 14692, request of Robert Morris for a variance to the maximum height of a freestanding sign and the landscaping required at the base of the sign at 16 Northwest 63rd Street.
Is the applicant present? Case number 1. Okay, out of courtesy to the applicant, we'll move that application to the end of the docket.
Item 2, case 14697, request of Premier Custom Homes for a variance to maintain an existing residence while a new residence is being constructed on the property at 9017 North Autumn Road.
Is the applicant present? Okay, you can come forward. You could just state your name and your address and present your application, please.
My name is Mark Abel with Premier Custom Homes, and our address, the address of this is the Autumn Road, and basically, perfect. The residents currently live in the existing house, and the way the code's written, we can move a mobile home in there, but the people that we're building the home for, all they're asking is just while the home is being constructed, if they could leave there versus having to leave and move out while the home's being constructed. And then we already have a demolition efforts that as soon as the house is finished, the old house will be demolished. It's just the way the code's written. We can demolish it, move in a mobile home, and then move that out. But rather than trying to do all that, it was suggested to us that we might ask for an adjustment for that.
The question you probably expected, how long would you need?
This home, it's a pretty sizable new home, so it takes like 7 or 8 months, but it's ready to be constructed. The gas line has already been moved. We have everything ready to go just based on the outcome of today.
So it sounds like around a year, probably?
Less than a year. Yes.
Okay. Board members, any questions? Was anyone else here to speak on this matter? Do we have a motion?
I'll move we approve time limit 1 year.
Perfect.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve case number 14697 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a statutory conditions for a variance for a period of 1 year. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you.
Item 3, case 14699, request of ROC 150 LLC for a variance to permit maneuvering in the street right-of-way at 14801 McKay Lane.
Good afternoon. Kendall Dillon with Craft & Toll, representing the applicant. Application to allow for just the maneuvering inside a public right-of-way to access parking stalls that we're in the process of constructing a new pool, bathhouse, and park for the Deerbrook neighborhood. So our intent is to provide the parking for those facilities outside of the right-of-way, but then use the right-of-way for the maneuvering in and out of those spaces. If you'll notice, there's an illustration, I think, in your staff report that illustrates just that the parking itself is on the outside of the right-of-way. In fact, we're proposing that it be 5 foot outside the right-of-way to the back of the stalls. So the parking's outside, we just need the variance to allow for the maneuvering in and out of the spaces. This is a very common scenario with parking in neighborhoods today. Anything that's neighborhoods that utilize private streets, it's already allowed. But even there's a lot of situations with public streets in neighborhoods that were done in PUDs, and those variants or this variance was granted through those PUDs. In fact, I did one just a year or two ago that's on Rockwell, about a half mile north, that utilizes the same exact scenario in its public street. So it's a pretty common deal. One of the reasons that we like to do this is it generally just minimizes your overall footprint of your parking area. So that results in just lower maintenance costs long-term for your HOA. And it also just reduces the amount of impervious area that you have on the ground, which has considerations in regards to drainage runoff as well as infiltration. But the primary reason is it just allows for more overall open space for the HOA and their park to utilize for landscaping, amenities, however they so choose. So that's kind of the reason that we're requesting it. Again, it's a pretty common deal. The parking is located on McKay Lane, sorry. That street will have very low traffic volume. There's 370 lots in the totality of this subdivision. There's 2 points of access, one to 150th, another one to Rockwell. The streets are designed to where it distributes the traffic throughout the neighborhood, so there's not any great collector or a concentration of traffic, especially on McKay Lane. So the traffic volumes are very low. We have limited our application to just be in the frontage of this one common area. And obviously our intent is to just build enough parking spaces to meet your code in regards to the facilities that we're building. So we want to minimize that footprint as much as we can. And so we feel like that it meets the intent for the variance. It's something that's very common in neighborhoods today. It's just, it was either rezone the property or come before you all, and staff thought this was the most appropriate. So that's the reason we're here. Happy to answer any questions and ask for your approval.
I don't think I have any questions. Board members, any questions? We have a motion. Was anyone else here to speak on this matter? I don't think so. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve case number 14699 for the reason that it meets the statutory conditions for a variance. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you all.
Item 4, case 14700, request of GNS Sign Service for a variance to the maximum amount of attached wall signs at 777 Northwest 63rd Street.
Happy New Year, everyone. Cameron Gleason with GNS Sign Services, located 1019 East Grand Boulevard, Oklahoma City, 73129, representing SSM Health. As the application kind of states, the biggest thing that peculiar to this property is the height of the building and the breathability of a new tenant. This is a 6-floor building, and we're only requesting there be 2 tenants on the building. And as I was going through this, I thought a fair compromise or a minimum to alleviate the hardship would to match the existing tenant on that same building. So at a building of 70 foot high, if I were to follow per code, it allows for a very, very small sign, which is almost unreadable for both tenants. So I'm open to any questions that you may have.
I only speak for myself, but I kind of struggled with this one a little bit for a few reasons. One, I was concerned that, just because you add a new tenant, that means they get a sign that's the same size as the existing tenant.
Right.
And if we were to set that precedent, I don't know why we wouldn't have to do that for every building. Obviously every tenant would love some signage.
Yeah.
And so, I'm a little hesitant to grant it for that reason. And also, I don't see that there's a hardship here. And so those are my general thoughts. I'm welcome to hear the thoughts of the rest of the board, but those are my initial thoughts.
If I may add too, I'm more than willing to, to compromise on allowable increase rather than doing double. To double the square footage existing. To set that precedent, I know is going to be a difficult one, but they had to start somewhere as a minimum. But I would be open to an allowable increase rather than to double or to match the existing sign.
Was this Patterson, it looked like? My assumption might be wrong here, but I assume they don't want to buy a new sign, right? And so my assumption is that sign is going to stay the same size.
The Patterson?
Right.
Yes, as far as the size of each one goes, they might, Patterson might, because they're the main tenant of the building, so they might say, no, you're gonna take the hit on this rather, But as far as square footage goes, it still is the same for the same building. But how this variance meeting goes, we'll let Patterson and SSM kind of hash that out based on if I'm allowed an allowable increase for the building.
Do you know if there's a possibility of an accessory sign anywhere, or would you be bound to not allowing an accessory sign?
Use like freestanding? There is one out front. The building is occupied by 5 tenants. Patterson owning 3 of the floors, SSM owning 2, and then 2 more tenants owning 1 floor. And that is, SSM has got about 4 square feet of that sign. So it's very minimal.
Is anyone else here to speak? Okay. Board members, any questions or comments?
I would just like to dig in further on Sam's question, because I had the same concern, and I'm just wondering, can you speak to more of what you think the necessity is and what the hardship is, other than just a preference for having?
The height of the building, 72 feet is the total height. Top of the sign is about 70 feet. Most pylon signs are, up of 200, 300 square feet at that height, just to be readable from, a highway that's got much more visibility from trees. But as this is a very not necessarily industrial, but very commercial area with for that part, and they would like to be readable at least from the street. And I think this is the minimum necessary to alleviate that hardship.
Yeah, without trying to fix the application for you, I don't think I can grant it as drafted. Or, I'm sorry, support it as drafted. If there are alternatives, or if you wanted some more time to think up some alternatives, you can certainly let us know, or if board members have alternatives, or the board can outvote me. It's happened before, so, I'm only one member.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to, ask for continuance as a direction of whatever you think I may need to move forward or investigate further. I'm more than willing.
Is 2 weeks enough time?
Yeah,
Can you get back with your folks?
yeah, 2 weeks should be fine, yeah.
I move we continue this for 2 weeks next docket, 16. We are meeting 16th, aren't we? Okay.
Do you have a second?
I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to continue case number 14700 to the January 16th meeting. Cast your votes, please. And it's continued.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that takes us to item 6, application for special exception of DJP Properties to allow lodging home sharing in the R1 district at 3437 Northwest 18th Street.
Hello.
Just state your name and address and present
The
your
address in
application.
question or the address, my personal residence?
It's usually your personal residence.
All right, my name's Dennis Passman. The address is 525 Falling Sky Drive, Edmond, Oklahoma, 73034.
Okay, and if you could present your application.
Yeah, I was asking for a variance for Airbnb short-term rental at the property address. That's the photo of it prior.
So at some point, we're going to revise the application to request some more information from you, but can you talk about, the number of rooms you're looking?
Sure.
The parking that you're.
Yeah, it's
you
a
have?
two-bedroom house, so it only will have, obviously, 2 bedrooms. The parking, or the driveway there will hold approximately 6 cars, I figured out. There is parking on the street in front of the house also. Since it will be limited to 2 bedrooms, you should never have more than 2 cars. We have a couple other Airbnbs in other cities, so this is not our first. We've never had any issues. We always have security cameras on the front and usually on the driveway, so we can keep eye on how many people are there. We don't allow any type of parties at our Airbnbs. And we never had any issues with any of we have 2 other ones, 2 other Airbnbs. So we've never had problems with the neighbors. We never had problems with the cities. We obviously take good care of the property because that's obviously our income. If we don't keep them up, they obviously aren't going to get rented out as much. Both of our Airbnbs now rent probably 90 to 95% of the time. We're in the top 5% for the Airbnbs in the Oklahoma City area for the number of rentals.
I see a garage back there. Will that garage be open to the renter?
No, that garage is off limits to the renters. They'll stay locked. They will have access to the whole house except for 1 closet and the garage.
How
And most of
many-
our rentals, we don't allow any rentals over 21 days, so most of them are usually 1, 2, 3 day rentals.
How many parking spaces are you advertising on your listing?
It doesn't actually have a number of spaces, but it will usually say on-site parking. And we can put in the listing that they are required to park on the driveway and out of the street. I don't ever think it'll be a problem. Like I said, the driveway's pretty big there, so should never really have more than 2 or 3 cars there.
I think if there are more rooms, we'd have some issues. Yeah, but with two bedrooms, right?
Yeah, 2 bedrooms, so there can't be too many people there.
Yeah.
Even they're all were adults.
You'd
all
hope
drove
not.
separately.
Yeah.
Pardon?
You'd hope not. I hope there's not too many people there.
No, like I said, we have cameras on them, so usually we will check our cameras. We usually keep one on the front porch and one on the driveway. And like I said, when people check in, we usually keep an eye on how many people are coming, make sure it's what they said they were going to have.
And will you be managing the property?
Yes, we manage our own.
Okay. And you
So we're
said-
there every couple of days to clean and take care of it, so.
Okay. Did you? Yeah. Did you receive a copy of this protest letter that was
No.
submitted? Okay. So just- I guess I'll give you a minute to read it and then see if you wanted to address any of the concerns.
Well, I agree. I cannot guarantee the criminal element, but just like if I rented it to anyone, I have no guarantee on how they're going to behave. We do require a $450 security deposit, so, I mean, people are, they want to lose it. We've never had any problem. Like I said, we've had 2 other ones. Never had any parties, never had any complaints from the city, Airbnb, or the neighbors. Like I said, we check the camera, so if they're going to have 8 or 10 people there, and they're supposed to have 4, we know that right away, and we can contact them.
What are you going to rent it out per night?
Pardon?
What's the rate per night?
Well, it varies from time of year and day to day, but approximately $75 per night. And then there's cleaning fees, taxes. The city gets their taxes for the renting tax. But, yeah, I mean, I understand what they're saying, and, the safety of the neighborhood is paramount to me, too, because obviously I'm going to be renting to people there, so it's important that we have good people. And believe it or not, I don't know if you ever had any involvement with Airbnbs, but the clientele of people we get are by far superior than what I ever expected. I mean, they take care of the house very well. Like I said, we've never had anybody trash the house. We never had any parties at our house, and we never had any complaints. Nobody's ever torn it up, so. Most people, and like I said, I mean, if people are going to be a criminal element, I mean, we don't run background checks on everyone, just like I wouldn't if I was renting to somebody probably either. But, they do pay a security deposit. They do have to verify their identity before they rent to Airbnb. They do use a credit card. So, I mean, if they were going to do something criminal, there's a way of tracking them, but I don't foresee that being an issue.
Do you know how many other home sharing properties are on this street or in the area?
No.
Okay.
There's one other I know for a fact in Linwood District. I'm not sure which street it's on. It's within a couple blocks of here, but I couldn't tell you exactly what address. But, no. And I don't think everyone gets the permits they require, the city requires, so a lot of them may not be permitted, but I know on Airbnb, just thumbing through the different listings, there's at least one other one I know of.
Yeah, I think with having only 2 bedrooms is in your favor. I don't think there's a real parking concern. That's something we try to keep an eye on as well. And particularly if you're willing to keep that $450 deposit in there. And I wouldn't mind having that in the motion, but that makes me pretty comfortable knowing that someone's going to have to deposit $450.
Right. And we never had to actually get any of that money ever from anyone because nobody's ever done anything that caused a problem.
Well, it's a barrier. You're not going to get certain people.
Yeah, I think you kind of get rid of a lot of the riffraff when you have that.
Yeah.
That's the reason I put it there too.
Board members, any questions or comments? Seeing no one else here to speak on the matter, do we have a motion?
I'll move approval.
I guess we should talk about a period of years.
10?
I think 5 is the longest we've done, and that's the longest I've been comfortable with. Here, I'd be comfortable with about 3, just given the area. I'd be comfortable with 3, but I'm only one board member, so.
10's the maximum, right? That's why I said 10.
Yeah.
So,
I don't have a problem with 3 because I think after 3 years, those people in the neighborhood will realize it's not going to be an issue. I don't have any concerns about it.
you're okay with 3?
I'm fine with 3.
I'll withdraw my motion and move approval for 3.
I think it will prove itself.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve, did you want to put a condition in there that it has to be advertised as having a deposit of $450 or not?
It is
Right.
on there.
Right, but just
Oh,
putting it in
actually,
there, if it's ever not advertised, then you would lose
Gotcha.
So did you want that in there, Mike? or-
Well, I didn't, only because I didn't want to dictate your policy. You may want to go to 500 or
Do
750.
450 and above.
450 and above, okay, there. No, that's,
Well, I like having it in there. It's to my advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
And we can put restrictions in there, and so one of the things we've done is, they can only advertise it as having X parking and things like that. So,
Perfect.
and then the same second? Yes. Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve case number 14701 for the reasons that it meets the conditions for a special exception for a period of 3 years and on the condition that it will only be advertised as having a security deposit of $400 or $450 or more. Cast your votes, please. And it's approved.
Thank you, sir. Would you like this letter back, sir? We're going to have it? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Item number 7 was continued. No additional items, communications, or board reports. Oh, we need to decide something on item number 1, which was moved to the end of the docket. Did we want to, out of request for the applicant, continue it to January 16th? Okay.
yeah, I'd hate to vote yes or no without somebody here, so I move we continue to 16th, number 14692.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to continue item number 1 to the January 16th meeting. Cast your votes, please. And it's continued. Okay. Now seeing no additional items, communications reports, citizens to be heard. Board members, any other business? All right, we are adjourned.